Carlos Nelson with What's Up, Kansas City. And what's up tonight? We have a special artist, local, right out of KCK. Who do we have here?
Yeah, this is Ed Dwight from Kansas City, Kansas. Yeah.
Tell our audience a little bit about yourself. My close friend, Sonny Rufford, now my brain is kicking back in gear. She's always talking about you, Ed.
Right, gotcha. Got it. Yeah, well, well, I'm from Kansas City, Kansas, and I grew up on the north end. As a matter of fact, back in the day, back in the 30s, we had a little farm out on the edge of town out there, and there were several things about it that kind of laid out the pattern of my life. First of all, being on a farm, we killed our own animals, and we lived in a little cohesive.
How long ago was this? Tell our audience, what year are we talking about?
1933.
Boy.
And as a matter of fact, the recession started on the East Coast in '29, but it creeped across the country, but it didn't really hit.
The Great Recession?
The Great Recession, and it didn't really hit Kansas until the mid '30s. You know what I mean? Economically and everything. So anyway, we had this little cohesive farm. My dad was born in Dalton, Georgia, and his family came up from Dalton. And as a matter of fact, his father was chased out of town, out of Dalton, and they ended up here. And so my dad went to Sumner. He played football there, but my dad played with the Kansas City Monarchs.
And what was his name?
The same as mine, Ed Dwight, and but they called him Eddie Dwight. He was a short guy, but he was very, very stockily built. But he left high school at 16 and to play professional baseball.
What position did he play?
Well, he started playing shortstop, and then shortstop, as his second base. I'm sorry. And later on, his baseball evolved the way we all knew it. He had to be a little taller to play the infield, and so he ended up in the center field.
Right.
And he was really quick. They called him Little Grease. That was his nickname. But he met my mom in traveling, and the good news is he had an opportunity to travel all over the world, all over the Central world. In other words, they had gone to Japan playing exhibition baseball, but most of the time it was in South America. And
was he a contemporary Cool Papa Bell and them guys?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I used to sit on Satchel Paige's lap, man, when he first started, and Satchel Paige would always bring change because I'd be down in the dugout. He'd always bring some change because I was always begging him for money. But that and my mom was from Sioux City, Iowa. And her parents were passing for white. They all looked like they were white, but they played in Sioux City every year. My dad did, and that's how they happened to meet. And so they brought that whole thing together in Kansas City. And I was the second born. I had a sister, and then I had 4 other sisters that came along behind me. But the things that kind of shaped my life, and later my art, as a matter of fact. Is that we were self-supporting, and I learned how to survive with that. We had a farm.
Talk about that farm self-survive.
Yeah.
The animals you were saying how you for food and what have you. What it was like back then.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, we never went to the grocery store. We didn't start going to the grocery store until I was about like 10, 11 years old. Because we had hogs, we had everything that with wings, man, capons, the chickens, roosters, ducks, you name it, we had it all. And I was the first male born in the settlement, so everything was pointed to me for all the chores. We had one water source, was a pump right in front of the house, and I had to get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and pump water for the whole.
So you know something about priming the pump.
You bet. And but the really, really good news is my mom was really one of the most incredible women that, she had a college education, which caused a lot of problems with her family, marrying a black baseball player that dropped out of school in the 10th grade.
Right.
That didn't work with her family very well at all. But she came down and tried to, and my dad's family, they were farmers in Georgia. They were from Dalton, and as a matter of fact, one of my first sculptures, big sculptures, was a thing called the Dirt Farmers in honor of my grandparents. But my mom kind of reshaped everything. I started school when I was 2. She had heard of there was a kind of a Head Start program to see if little black kids, if they started them early enough, could they learn? I mean, that's kind of a stupid notion, but so I was one of 33 little black kids that they rounded up around town. As a matter of fact, that's where I met my present wife in preschool when we were 2.
That long?
Yeah, dude. So I started school really early, and she saw that I had an artistic bent. And so she had me in every art class. She talked to the teachers, and I was a school artist. The only public school I went to 1 year at Dunbar. I went to kindergarten at Dunbar Elementary School, and I was a class artist there. And then I was a class artist all through elementary school, which was a Catholic school on 5th Street. Then I integrated Bishop Ward High School later on, and I was a school.
You were one of the first integrated students at Bishop Ward.
Yeah, Bishop
What
Ward
was?
High School.
Tell our audience a little bit about that.
Okay, well, I'm gonna get to that in 1 second.
All right.
But there was one other thing that kind of shaped what was going on with me. We live within 20 minutes of Fairfax Airport. And from the time I was 2, Mom would walk us to the Fairfax Airport every day, me and my older sister. On the way down, she taught us every flora and fauna and poison ivy versus grass you could eat and plants you could eat. And astronomy, and she had us really, really, really going. She gave me a library card when I was 4. And they wouldn't give her a library card because I was so tiny and so small. They thought I was going to tear up the books. But I became their best customer. She had to fight it out because we went to the public library down in Kansas City, down on Minnesota Avenue, and they thought she was white. Mm-hmm. But this little brown kid said, "What are you doing babysitting this boy?" And she said, "No, he's my son, and I want a library card." And said, "Well, if it's for you, because we'll give you. We cannot let him have a library card." So they appointed me to Northeast Junior High School, so I went over there. And they would not give me a library card at Northeast Junior because I was too little. And so my mom said, "I'm not leaving here until this kid has a library card. If I have to tear the place up." So I ended up walked out of there with a library card, and I spent the rest of my formative years carrying books from Northeast Junior High School back to the farm, reading every day.
What was you reading?
My classic read was about art. I read about all the great masters, and being in the Catholic Church, I started as an altar boy when I was 5, and I served as an altar boy for 12 years. Go to church every day because he was a dyed-in-the-wool Catholic. But it was all the art that I saw, the statuary and all that kind of stuff, and I was really fascinated with it. So I started studying the great masters, and I did my first oil painting when I was 8. And I was just painting Catholic stuff, people going into heaven and all that stuff, all the glorious stuff that you see, and where they're trying to get all the constituents of the church to
look up,
all that old stuff, But but the other component.
How do you feel? Excuse me for interrupting you.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the masters putting art with the face of God and who all of that? I detected something when you talked about that. What's your feeling on the portrayal of things like that?
Well, that was the name of the game. You had to capture people's minds. I kind of learned that early in my life that there are things in art that you capture people's imagination, and it transports them from their everyday life and the things that are, and the big dream, and that's why Trump's president. The big dream is, I can be like that. That whatever that represents, I can be like that. And that's what all these people that are Trump supporters, that they imagine there's a transference of energy. If this guy can lead us, and that guy feels the same way I do about all these things, and I trust him, and he's going to take us out. He's a billionaire, and he doesn't tell lies. He's the greatest guy to ever been. And it's a transfer, and they'll never bridge that gap. They'll make that transference, but it's the belief. And so later
the imagery and so forth.
Yes, and so that's. I didn't learn this a lot till later, but as I was doing my art, I could see people they would look, and they look at me, and they look at the art that I did, and say, wait a minute, that's something going wrong. I mean, that kid, you know.
He didn't do that.
No, I had no chance in hell this guy did. I mean, how could he be thinking that far, and how could he be making that look so glorious, and how could he do all that, you know? And so all of a sudden they say, well, if he did that, oh my God. And now, wait a minute, if that kid did that, then that means that I can do something outside of my realm as well. But anyway, I'd go to, after about 3 or 4, I'd go to the airport by myself every day. And they were hunting. All the people that were flying at Fairfax Airport were hunters. They'd go to Colorado, Wyoming, and bring back game and all that kind of stuff. And they, of course, they had beer bottles everywhere because these guys were flying drunk. And they'd pay me a nickel or a dime to clean their airplanes out. And that's what got me.
I was going to ask you, what was y'all going to the airport for every day?
No, I was just fast. I didn't know where they came from, and I didn't know when they took off, where they were going. And I was so fascinated with that, man. It blew my brain that, well, God, these guys, they can take off and be in the air, and where did they go, you know, and where are they going, you know? And after a while, by the time I was 9 or 10, I said, I don't want to clean them airplanes no more, I want to fly. You can pay me back. So they would take me up around the thing and all that kind of stuff. And every now and then they let me touch but the whole issue was I got really fascinated with this flying. But it was my secret because I knew darn well that no way in hell, because all these guys were white.
Right.
There's not a chance in the hell that I'd ever fly an airplane. I mean, it just wasn't in the cards. But I kept it in my back pocket. You know, in 1941, the war started, and they turned the Fairfax Airport into a fighter training base and put 20-foot walls all around the airport so I couldn't get in there anymore. But I was on the takeoff pattern. They flew right over my house every day and all night, so close I could see the rivets in these planes. And so I started, my art changed to drawing airplanes. And I drew every airplane to scale in the whole Army Air Corps inventory. And Father Terrence got me into bird watching, so I decided I didn't know about Audubon, but I was making all these birds, man. I was doing every bird in the Midwest. I did very technical drawings of all these birds. You know, and when I was about 12 when I saw the first book on Audubon, I was really upset because I thought I thought I had a lock on it. I had it locked up, but anyway.
By the way, did they use any? Who used your drawings and your material?
Okay, at 14, I opened a sign shop. My dad opened a restaurant on 7th in New Jersey when we moved downtown. Mm-hmm. Dad and Mom opened a restaurant there. So I did all the art for the inside of the restaurant and stuff. Next thing you know, people would come in the restaurant and see all this stuff. So churches, I started doing art for churches and pool halls. I designed menus. Every year they had the church fair, I do that thing, they string across the street. I had Minnesota Avenue all locked down when they had sales. I was the guy that painted all the sale thing on the
sign man.
And I had this sign shop. And I thought this was the most incredible thing. And I got into cars. I got my first car when I was 14.
What was that?
Because I had money. I bought a Model A Ford when I was 13 years old. Took the damn thing apart and laid the whole part all over. My old man thought I was out of my mind because it cost $25. I borrowed $25 from my old man, and I had to pay him a mortgage. I mean, a lien on the car.
Got to pay back.
Yeah. And so I started building hot rods, and I started taking them apart and rebuilding and chrome plating the hoods and all that kind of stuff. When I was 9, Mom said, "You've been sitting around long enough, so you need to start working and making some money." So she got me 2 paper routes. She got me the Kansas City Call and the Kansas City Kansas. And so I had 600 and some customers on the Kansas route, and I probably had maybe 200 people, but I was on the Kansas side primarily. I didn't throw over here, but on the Kansas side. But something interesting happened, man. I had to get up in the morning to throw the Kansas paper. We threw it twice a day. It had a morning edition and an evening edition. And on those snowy days, man, I was a little tiny little kid, man, and I had to go back to the pickup point about 3 times because the paper was so heavy, and I hated it. I told my oh lady, I was so upset with my mom. I didn't know what to do. But Friday, my pockets were jingling with money.
Yeah.
You know, man.
Had them lumps.
Yeah, and then another thing affected my life. And on the way to Catholic school, the guys from Dunbar when I was 13, I weighed 65 pounds, man. And these guys used to kick my butt.
The guys out of Dunbar.
I mean, let's get a Catholic man. Let's get it. And so, I said to myself, this is really interesting. And I met a kid by the name of Terry Lloyd on the Kansas side, and they were trying to do a boxing club, and so Terry, I saw Terry doing this boxing and stuff, so I joined the boxing club.
Mm-hmm.
I started fighting when I was 13. And most of our bouts were over here because we
was Bubba Kleist around then?
Bubba Kleist tried to recruit me because I won the Golden Glove Championship on the Kansas side in 1951.
I was just born.
And Bubbles, with my dad being involved in athletics, because when he left baseball, he was also the marketing director for the Kansas City Monarchs, but he knew Bubbles really well. And my old man decided that you're not going to be a fighter, kid. And Bubbles romanced me to join Gateway, and because there was on through to Chicago to New York.
What was that like? Tell our audience a little bit about that history so we can have that on record.
Well, the whole world, everything I ever got involved in, man, it's about intensity, about how much you apply to it. And this comes from my mom. If you're going to do something, do it the best you can. I don't care what it is. I mean, it doesn't make a difference what it is.
Trash man, be the best trash man.
Be the best trash man. And I got a hint of being the best trash man because that's in the early stages. My grandfather, on my dad's side, was a junk man. He had a horse and a mule, and we'd go all over Kansas picking up junk, and mostly metal junk. And I was his go-to kid. I mean, I'm set up there with him, and we used to see it, get that, and I throw it in the back of the thing. If it was too heavy, he had to get off, and this man would take that back to the farm, and this man could make anything. I mean, he didn't have a welder, but he could make metal join by heating it up and just hammering it together, so the molecules of the metal would join. And he made just anything mechanical that we needed on that place. He made. And also taught me to make, because I was.
But wasn't that the era, the era that you grew up in, where men, like you said, you took the car apart.
Right.
I'm, like 30 years younger than you. But my era, all men knew how to tune a car. Yeah, all men knew how to do certain things.
Exactly.
Oh, all right.
But the idea of my curiosity about it, I was curious about how cars work. Mom bought me a prescription. I guess I must have been 10 years old, to Popular Mechanics.
And they still got that around.
And I read the thing from book to cover every issue. And so I was in this mechanical mode of building things. And the first thing I did when I got to, I took the car apart, everything, to see how it worked, and see what I could do to make it work better. And so I ran into when I moved down, I ran to John, who was a German. He was a German gentleman right across the street from me, and this man could do anything. And so we were grinding out cylinders, putting in bigger cylinders, and we hop up the car. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. All those kind of things. But there's another thing that happened on this library thing, because I got to keep going back to how the library affected everything I did. Mm-hmm. Once they opened that Army Air Corps base out there, I don't know how a set of books got into this black junior high school, Northeast Junior High School. There was a group of 7 manuals on Army Air Corps, and they were Army Air Corps training manuals, and it was how to train pilots how to fly.
What year was this? Approximately?
I would have been 9. This would have been in 1940, 1944, somewhere thereabouts. Okay. And the war had started.
It started already.
Right. But I was taking these manuals home, and it was my fantasy, man. And I was reading these manuals, And at the end of every chapter in these manuals, there was a test in the back of it to see if you picked
Understood.
understood what you know. Not thinking anything about it. I'd been doing that since I was 9 or 10, and all the way through I'd been doing it in my imaginary airplane world. And I built 2 airplanes out of orange crates from Safeway on 7th and Quindera. I made trips down there, and I did airplanes for the neighborhood, and I would take these kids up in my plane, and we'd fly all over the world in my orange crate airplane. I would tell them where we are. We're over Paris right now. And at the beginning, later on, I started charging them a nickel to fly in my plane.
Boy, no capitalism kicked in.
No. I mean, but anyway, how that all fits together. Then I went out to Bishop Ward. I played sports. I played football. They put the track team around me because they didn't have a track team.
What did you run in track? Because I was an athlete.
Okay,
Also.
I ran 100, 220, 220 low hurdles, broad jump, 440 relay, and 880 relay.
All right.
So he built. I flew. I ran 7 events. But my dad was fast. He was really quick, and I could run. I could run pretty fast. And so he built the whole team around me. We ended up with about maybe 8 or 9 of those white boys that, came in to fill it out, everything. But and we traveled all over the state, and we're running track, and that's why I learned about all the other places in Kansas. Because
athletics is a great way to get experience and exposure and meet other people and different parts of the country.
You're exactly right. But anyway, what ended up happening is I was a school artist, and this Bishop Ward High School went berserk because my mom started 3 years earlier to writing, to say we, because she wanted us to go to a Catholic high school. And 3 years earlier she started writing. And they said no, not only no, but hell no. And don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And so she wrote the next thing up there in Cincinnati, called the Holy See, and they said, we can't do anything about it because it's a local matter, So my mom wrote the Vatican.
I was just going to say, sound like your mom was getting ready to go to the Vatican.
She went to the Vatican, and they were ordered to integrate. That's honest to God truth, man. And so the day I walked in there, 350 kids dropped off, white kids dropped out. They went from 850 down to 550, 300 kids dropped out and went to public schools the day I walked in the door. And they thought they don't know what they thought, but my dad told me some interesting stories about sports and about getting along with the white people and all these other matters and stuff like that. And he would tell me stories about David when they'd go to Sioux City, all the farmers would line up all their rotten eggs and their rotten tomatoes, and as soon as
they start winning the game.
As soon as they get out of the bus, they were pelted with all of these rotten eggs and stuff, and they'd get on the field and kick the hell out of the white team. At the end of that, these white rednecks would be lining up, getting autographs from these same black guys that they were throwing tomatoes at, So he would tell me stories like that about changing the framework of how white men think, you know what I mean? And sports was a good entree.
Excellent entree.
And so, I went out for football, and I made the football team at 104 pounds.
What was you doing, running or defense?
Oh no, hell no! I was running back, and I started at junior varsity because I was a sophomore, but I made varsity as a junior, and I made varsity, but I had a little problem because I was still boxing, and my name was in the paper every fight. I lost my first fight and never lost another match, so I was always in the call with Kansas in the sports section, little Ed Dwight. But anyway, the guy started beating me up. It was that's one good
reason
thing.
you start fighting.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. A word got out. Don't mess with little Lady Dwight no more because he
can fight.
He can fight now. Yeah. But anyway, I got out there and I started. I was taking an art and I was going to be an artist, and I had my sign shop, going to be an artist, and I had won the first 3 all painting ribbons for the Kansas State High School art scholarship thing, and lo and behold, I didn't think anything about it. I didn't even know the nuns had submitted these things. next thing you know, I'm told that they went over to the Kansas City Art Institute and got me a scholarship in 1951 to the Kansas City Art Institute, and for those 3 oil paintings that I did. My old man thought it was cute when I had my sign shop to build on the back of the house that he built, and it was cool because he didn't have to give me any money or tuition. I mean, what do you call that? Allowance. And I don't want to pay for nothing. I mean, you can pay for I forgot you're gonna have to edit this section.
That's all right.
But my old man sat me down, and he saw that I was getting serious about this, and he said, "Dude, you're out of your mind. You're not gonna be no artist. I'm not gonna take care of you the rest of your life. Okay? So I'll make a deal. I want you to find me anybody that's making any money, making art, making a living, and then I'll back you." Now, the fact of the matter, I didn't need nobody to back me for anything at that point. But I listened to I said, "Well, Dad, what should I do?" He said, "You're going to be an engineer." And now, small thought, we had a train track that ran right past the house. Okay, and I said, "I don't want to drive a train," because when he said engineer,
right.
He said, "What, dude? What's wrong with you? What are you talking about?" I said, "I don't want to drive no train." He says, "I said, that's not the kind of engineering I'm talking about." So I asked, I said, "What do they do?" And he said, "They make money. That's all you need to know." And lo and behold, now so things started closing in and coming together. I was dead set against this old engineer because I didn't know what engineers did. I didn't know what the requirements were and everything. I was throwing my call paper, and above the fold, dude, was a brother, Dayton Ragland from Kansas City, Missouri, standing on the wing of a Sabre jet. He had gotten shot down in Korea. And I'm looking at this, and he was 5'4", same height as my height. I say, no.
You got to have this. Got to do this.
I threw my papers, man, and went straight to the recruiting office. And I said, I want to be a pilot, because I didn't know they let blacks fly jets, man. I'll fly anything. I mean,
that Sabre was the newest, but that was the thing they was using in Korea.
That's my man. He ended up, he stayed in. But I never met Dayton. But I had this picture of him that I cherished, that I cut out on the call paper. I mean, standing on the wing of that jet, man. And he became my idol, right? So anyway, I applied for pilot training. They told me I was too short, and I did stutter. I started stuttering when I was in the 3rd grade because I'm left-handed. And the nuns at something in the Catholic Church think the people who are left-handed are from the devil.
Hey, I went to Catholic school in St. Louis, and the paddle was my main friend.
Man, she crept me across the knuckles, man, and I started stuttering. And I stuttered, so I was very quiet. I didn't say anything hardly to anybody. I just expressed myself with what I did versus what I said, because I stuttered so bad. And I was stuttering really, really bad. But the good news is I applied, and the local people said no. So I wrote to Pentagon, and I said, I want to be a pilot, And they said, fine. And where are you? And in the meantime, I had enrolled in the pre-engineering course at Kansas City, Kansas Junior College. I'm haltingly going along with my old man's thing. But I didn't know that I picked up this math and stuff. I mean, it was just like,
that was what I was going to ask you. Was you good at math? Because the fool with that engineering.
Yeah. I mean, it just all fell in. Everything just started falling into place. And, yeah. And it's like, I could see through the clouds and all that kind of stuff about it. And I had this knack for mathematics and, and science and all that kind of stuff that I didn't even know about until I was exposed to it. But anyway, they sent a team of people because of my letter to Kansas City, Kansas Junior College. And I was the first in line, of course. And they it was silly. They took eyes and the ear test, but that's all it was really. And they sent us to Denver. 33 of us to Denver. And I got down, it was a 2.5-hour test. I sat down in that room, dude, and I looked at that test, and I looked at it, I said, I've been here before. And lo and behold, it was I had been working these tests in the back of these Army Air Corps manuals. They were exactly the same test, no deviation. Those were the tests that they tested you to see if you had any adaptability for flying.
Those books that you had been reading,
I had memorized them. I got out there and I finished that 2.5-hour test in 20 minutes. And I went up, took it up there, and the guy says, "Too tough for you, huh?" I said, "I might have missed one or two. I don't know." I got to look at you. This brashy kid. And Lord, when they put that template down over there. He said, "Damn, we got." Next thing you know, man, I was pulled aside. They called my mom. Says, "Your son's a genius." They called my high school. I was a genius. They called my college. You guys do good work. This guy's a genius.
Yeah.
But I was the only one that passed out of those 33 guys. And I lost friends. I'm on the track because I ran track and doing it. Lost all my white buddies. Wouldn't talk to me anymore. And because the fix was in, we go out and that black guy, gets chosen, and I got an assignment right away, and so I decided that the way my mind thinks, I don't like going into things ill prepared. So I got an opportunity to go straight into cadet training, but I didn't know anything about the military. I didn't know what people thought. I didn't know what they did. I didn't know anything about that kind of discipline. I didn't know nothing. So I joined as an enlisted man early while I was waiting on my class to start. So I went to Lackland as a grunt and became because I obviously became a superstar going through all these grunt things because I had graduated from college. Junior college. I had engineering and stuff like that. And the white guy, the squad leader guy calls me and says, we looked at all your records and you should be able to run this thing as the troop leader, but I can't do it. You're too short and you're black, and I don't know whether these white boys from the farm would listen to you and follow you. So I'm gonna make you the number 2 guy, okay? So and then you'll tell him what to do.
You tell him the number 1 guy how to run things.
And so I graduated top of my class, and so I went into pilot training. I was a class officer all the way through, and got a great assignment. I'm a people kind of guy, so they sent me. I was a flight instructor for my first tour.
Where were you at? In Denver still?
Oh no.
Where you at?
No. I went to Malden, Missouri, down in the corner, down by Joplin for basic training. For primary training. Then I went to Phoenix, Arizona for basic training. Then I stayed in Phoenix as a flight instructor. But that's
flight school?
Yeah, there was a fighter flight school down there. But Arizona State was right there, so I finished my degree.
What were you flying?
We were flying T-28s and T-33s and later F-86s. But anyway, I graduated cum laude out of Arizona State with a degree in Aeronautical Engineering. Because it was the greatest setup you could imagine. I had to fly 2 flights a day, from 8 till noon, because I was flying with students. And the rest of that time I was free. So I got a full schedule at Arizona State, which is about 40 minutes away. So I carried a full load at Arizona State in Aeronautical Engineering. And anyway, I left there. They sent me to Japan. Again, I ran into the short stuff because it was always about how tall I was.
You should have fit right in over in Japan.
No. The military doesn't think that way. You could be stupid and tall, and you're okay. No, I'm serious. Man.
Yeah, no, I know. Image is everything.
But short guys, you have to overcome.
Napoleon.
Napoleonic complex. You got it. So you had everything you did. You had to be twice as good as the other people did. And so I did that. I did everything twice as good.
How did that feel?
Well,
psychologically and just.
Yeah, well, it didn't put any onus on me because I felt you know, I felt good about being in you know, just about in my early stages, I was always thinking strategically. And what I mean by that, when I was a flight instructor, I was watching to see, and I guess my mom kind of taught me, you know, see what other people are doing and all that kind of stuff, see patterns and stuff. And we had a pattern going on there. Here we are, we got Iraqi students, we got Iranian students, we got Japanese students, we got Norway students, we got Denmark students, we got Italian students, and we got these students from all over the world that we're training for pilot training. And these white boys are washing these brown students out, just like that, you know. So I went to Captain Joseph. I said, you know, I'm seeing something going on here, man. These guys are washing these
guys out that can fly.
Yeah. I said, why don't you give them to me? And he said, well, hey, that's your imagination. I said, it's not my imagination. I said, you watch these guys sending them home, and these guys can fly. What it was a language barrier, man. You know, the white guys got impatient because they had to tell the guy 3 times slowly, you know, what to do and all that kind of stuff. And so I started graduating these kids. And all these Iranian and the Japanese, and I started graduating them, you know, and that was a loss to their country, because when they go back to their country, they're going to speak their own language, right? But we're trying to learn them how to teach them how to fly using our language, right? And so as a result of that, I started graduating these kids, you know what I mean? You know, so all of a sudden, these guys started noticing that I was a kind of a strategic thinker. So when I went to Japan, I was on the wing staff. But that was another thing that got me on the wing staff. We were flying the B-57 aircraft, and there's 6 pilots had gotten killed in the B-57.
That's a bomber? Or?
Yeah, it was a British Canberra. They converted.
Like a Lancaster?
You got it. And but there are 2 engines they put on this thing, and the engines were too far apart to control it with the rudders and everything. And they built the rudders so instead of the rudders staying this way where you get leverage, if you're short, you screw this thing back and it made the rudders come like this. Now, if you try to push this rudder, you got no leverage, you know, because you can't push it hard enough. And so 6 guys that got killed, and they were all under 5'8", and so they weren't going to let me fly the B-57, you know. And so I was on the wing staff working for the top general on the base, and so I learned how to strategically think in the military. So I started doing things. We lost 2 pilots over there because when they bailed out over the Sea of Japan, they lost their life raft. You know, here they got their life vest, but they lost the life raft that exploded open when you ejected. So I built a system so that they would be tethered to them no matter what happened to them. That life raft would stay tethered to them. Yeah, and so I was coming up with all that kind of stuff like that. And
You're
so,
forward thinker.
And so and so I talked to my boss. And I said I want to go combat. I want to be a combat pilot. And Tom Blanchett was the only other brother. Virgil was there, but Tom Blanchett was 6'4". He was a brother. You know, and so our team and Tom, we go out to the flight. Every day we go out to the flight, Tom would look at me. He called me a name, and man, if you kill me, I'm gonna kill. I'm gonna try it. But anyway, we won the bombing competition, Tom and I. You know, and so I'm beginning to get all of this feeling of kind of that you can grab onto success, you know.
Confidence.
Confidence, and you can manage it. You know, you can navigate it. And so my wife then got sick, so they shipped me back. So I went to Travis Air Base, and so I was on the wing staff because my wing staff experience in Japan. I was flying 5 airplanes out of there. And I invented all kinds of stuff for the B-52 and the KC-135, and you know, we had a mission where we were flying 24 hours.
Did you get credit for the things that you invented or came up with?
Totally. They put me on fast track. I got promoted to captain early. So the day I got promoted to captain, I was put in for major, which you can't do. You got to wait some years for that. But man, I got so.
You got your due.
I got so much promotion. It was unbelievable, And so everybody was fighting for my services. All of the senior officers would go, well, I want him. But I was briefing the general every day with the intelligence briefing, so I knew what the heck was going on in China. I knew what was going on in Russia, because I was going to take these intelligence briefs. I had to brief the general, and these guys were just fighting for my services. November the 4th, 1961, I got a letter from Washington, D.C. at the direction of President Kennedy. We'd like to invite you to be the first African-American astronaut. And I'm going, yeah, right. Sure. So I thought it was a joke. I said, this is some kind of joke. So I waited 4 days for somebody to spring this joke on me. And next thing you know, I take this letter to my commander. I said, hey, they're asking me if I want to be an astronaut. You got to be a test pilot, so you got to go to test pilot school first, but you're going to be an astronaut. We're offering you this opportunity to be this astronaut guy, and you could end up being the greatest Negro that ever lived, and all that kind of stuff.
At that time, that was real.
So I said, even Jackie Robinson.
He's number one right now.
Even Jackie Robinson. And see, Jackie played second. I was bat boy for the Monarchs.
Yeah.
When Jackie in 1947, when Jackie he played second base when he came down. All the other players were old players were all pissed off because Branch Rickey picked Jackie. He was this young punk, Dutch Gibson. All those guys are all mad. Everybody, Satchel, all these people are mad as hell because but anyway, that's
the youngster.
Yeah, but that's another story. So anyway, I took this letter to my commander, and he said, Dwight, leave it alone. He says, you're going to be a general, okay? Leave it alone, because you're set, you're on fast track, we love you, you're effective, there's nothing we've ever given you to do that you didn't do exceedingly well. Stay here. Don't do that, because they'll destroy you, man. And so I called my mom. I said, Mom, what do you think? And we were going through all that. So, if you do it, you can do it. But you got to think about the race. They could lift, it could be a form of racial progress. If you go there and succeed, that'll help everybody, and so I went to my girl, Douglas, and I told him, I said, you know what, I'm really thinking about doing this. And he says, why? I said, I have a chance to raise the race, and he looked at me. He said, "Dude, you better save yourself. Screw the race. You got to look out for yourself."
How heavy was that on you? Those type decisions, really, or was it, everyday thing?
Well,
pressure.
first of all, I thought they had just chosen the 7th astronaut 3 years before then. This is 1961.
Right, I remember.
Yeah, so in 1958, they were the first white astronaut guys, okay?
I still remember when Sputnik, I was in the 5th grade, and we really got in gear after that.
Right. Well, think about this, man.
Can't believe that you were part of that.
Well, I know, but the deal is, man, 3 years later, now think about this one. This is a good one. When we're sending missiles up into space, man, the public didn't care. They could care less about sending them some satellite up. Well, oh yeah, fine, good, You stick a man in the seat of that satellite. You sit up and say, and all of a sudden, oh my God, he's gonna die. He's a hero. Oh my God, those guys are heroes. Those first 7 guys are heroes.
The right stuff.
The right stuff. And you're gonna put a brother
in that
in
mix?
the middle of the white, or a woman in the white? No. And man, the whole idea of this thing with the president doing this, the stuff hit the fan, man. And so I said, okay, anyway, I didn't tell anybody I sent my stuff in, but I sent it in. And 3 days later, man, not 2 months later, not 1 week later, 3 days later, 3 days, Air Force don't react like this. I sent myself in. 3 days later, I was sent down to Edwards to interview with Chuck Yeager to go to test pilots.
Man, I could remember looking at Chuck Yeager break the land speed and all of that.
And
So
then,
you knew him?
Well, he was my boss when I went down there. Yeah.
All right.
And
History
so,
in the making.
well, I know, but it wasn't good history.
No, I'm saying in general history.
No, I know what you're saying, but what I'm saying, I'm restricting it to this whole idea of this black kid going into some kind of into this. I mean, we're
realm
talking
of
about
space as an astronaut.
Yeah, I mean, this is uber,
In those times.
yeah, uber political. I mean, we're talking so politically. It was
Black man couldn't catch a cab hardly, less more
right.
go into space.
Right. So, but more interesting is the story of how this came about, and it's an interesting story, man. When Senator Kennedy wanted to run for president, the way the story goes, he didn't know any black people. I mean, he didn't roommate with a black football player or none of that. So he called Harry Belafonte, who he did know, and he called Harry supposedly and said, "Harry, I need you to deliver the black vote because this is going to be really tight with Nixon." And so Harry said, "I can't. I can deliver 2 votes, me and my wife, but I can hook you up with the people who can." So he called in Dr. King and Roy Wilkins, A. Philip Randolph, Whitney Young, and the other brother with the patch over his eye, or later on, I can't think of his name right now, but they're all sitting in this room, right? And they're all telling Senator Kennedy what they want. You know, Whitney, A. Philip Randolph had to do with the railroad and the railroad workers and the porters and all that kind of stuff. Dr. King, of course, he was generic. He wanted open accommodations, you know, everybody wanted something. And Whitney was the last one to go up. And he tells Senator Kennedy, he says, "You know what, Senator, you know, we don't need white colleges. Because what's happening is all of our black kids that are smart, that are coming out of black schools, and they can have an A average, man, and they want to go to Purdue or MIT, because it was a black school, they downgraded their averages to C. It wouldn't let them in, just because it was a black school. Now, we got 4 military academies, okay? At the time, we got 4. He says, I can fill those military academies up, okay? And once they get out of the military academy, those Purdue's and University of Michigan, the University of Colorado, that all these guys are Purdue's astronauts, cannot turn them down because they've graduated from a military academy, okay? And so the question was, how you gonna do it? And Whitney says, make me a black astronaut and give him to me. And that's how this whole thing started, man. And Kennedy said, okay. And that's how the whole, you know. And so next thing you know, Kennedy gets up there, and a year passed, he gets elected, beaten by 110,000 votes, which the black constituency made him the president, right?
Just like how freedom used to operate here,
Right.
where they battle it out, and then you have the that brings you over the hump. You have the central votes.
Right. And so, but Kennedy gets in office and forgets about it. So Whitney has to get on his case. Say, you know, you promised me, you promised me. So anyway, it was assigned to Bobby Kennedy, by the way. And so Kennedy started calling, and there's one thing for Bobby Kennedy to call somebody, another thing for the president to call. So he started calling around, you know, saying, I need your help. I need your support on this thing because I got this colored boy I want to put in space, and I need your help, you know. And so he called Strom Thurmond, who was the head of the Senate Armed Services Committee, and said, Strom, I need your help. You know, I've got this colored guy, I want to put this boy in space. And Strom said, well, you don't want to do this. You really don't want to do that, Mr. President. No, you just don't want to do this. And so, well, how are you going to pay for it? And the president, what are you talking about? I'm going to pay for it. You know, we got money to pay for everything else. He said, well, you know, and he kept hemming and always, I'm not in favor of this. I'm just not in favor of this. And so finally, at the end of the conversation, supposedly, I mean, I was told this, and he told the president, look, Mr. President, if you put that N word in space, my N words are going to want to vote. They will not understand why that guy is going up in space and they can't vote. So we can't have that. And then he calls NASA and threatens NASA
Funding?
You will not get a dime if you even think about putting so black folks in space. But the issue is, he had support coming from the NASA side. Everybody that was in running NASA at the time were Nazis.
Right.
They took the whole space program.
Hold it. Listen, I lived in Laurel, Maryland, right over there by Goddard Space Center.
Right.
I'm a history buff. They brought him over here. He was head of their missile program. Can't his name per se right now.
Werner von Braun.
Yeah, Von Braun. His arm was broke when they brought him over here.
That's right.
And brought all of his people over here.
Right.
I know the whole history. So that, and when I said audience, we're talking about some real history, not just in the United States, world history, things that have changed how we live.
And shaped over there.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, and so obviously he had a friend. I mean, he had because Russia beat us up in space. Beat us in space because America, at the end of the day, they sort of splitting Germany all up. Well, Russia walked away with all the hardware. They
were gathering that intelligent and those scientists like white on rice after the war.
I know, but see, America conceded to giving them the hardware, and we took 5,000 of the engineers, the scientists. Okay, so that was the compromise.
What you saying? The missiles and the things that they found.
The hardware.
They gave that to them, and y'all took the software.
That's why they went up before we did. They went into space with Sputnik. They went into space before we did because they had the hardware, and of course you can build from the hardware. I mean, that's why they try to get plans of the new airplane or the new this, and because you can build from that. And so they went up in space earlier, and it cost us lives because Apollo 1 blew up on the thing because we were
Russian to.
Yeah, well, see, Russia had a two-gas system. Yeah, and we live in an oxygen-nitrogen system here, and so they have in Russia because they can take up heavier stuff. They can fabricate oxygen and nitrogen, and make it like you're on Earth. We had one gas system, and that's why Apollo 1 blew all hell. I mean, burned his astronauts from inside out, man. Because they had particles of 100% oxygen in their nose hair, everything, and these guys took them 20 minutes for these guys to die.
20 minutes?
Oh yeah, it was bizarre. The screaming and hollering, and they made that stuff as accessible to people that were related to the space program or in training and stuff like that. It was unbelievable, man. And so anyway, I'm caught in the middle of all of this, see, because. On the House and Senate side.
Were you married yet?
Oh yeah, man. I married.
How did all of this journey? We got all the time in the world. Affect your family and your your marriage.
Well, first of all, I had a disintegrated marriage in the first place. I married a girl from here. God bless her soul, and she didn't take the military life very well, and it was very, very problematic. So anyway, she and I were divorced. At the time, and to show you how the system works, man. When I went down to Edwards to interview with Yeager and all those generals and all those guys, and they had all these stars and things, and they had 4 of them, and I'm sitting in this chair, and there are all these guys in there, and they're all hunched over so you can see all this stuff, and they're questioning me, right? And so at the end of the conversation, guy. They said, well, Captain Dwight, we assume you're happily married because it's critically important that you're. I said, well, you guys got all my information laid out there. I'm surprised that you don't know that I'm not married. I'm divorced. And nobody raised an eyebrow. And one of the guy says, where is she? I said, I don't have any idea. Go find her. Ask her how much she wants.
Yeah. You see, they just got rid of the acting Secretary of Defense behind that, or have you noticed?
I know, I keep up.
Yeah, all right.
But what I'm saying, and he says, on that one, give us a call and tell us how it works out, okay? And it says, but meeting's over, and you know.
Do you think they were looking for a reason to disqualify you?
No.
All right,
no.
I don't know.
No. This had to do 100% with of what you just mentioned. They didn't want any issues, and I tell you why. I forget the guy from Boulder, the astronaut from Boulder. It's on tip of my tongue. Anyway, he and his wife were divorced when they did the first 7. See what I'm saying? And so she was living with his ex-roommate, a Navy pilot. Okay, and so when what happened to him, same thing. Go clean it up, and he went to her, say, we got to
clean this up.
Yeah, you got to come back to me, and that's what happened. So they already had experience with that. You see what I'm saying? So all I'm saying to you is that it's a matter of expediency, and they didn't want anything coming up later on.
Ruin the program.
Yeah. We selected this guy, and then a year later found out he was a sex pervert or some crazy stuff.
Due
like
diligence.
That. Yeah, and so anyway, I called her up, man. I said, hey, I got a chance to do this astronaut thing, and so she said, well, okay. But the bad news about this gloriousness of all this astronaut thing is something that later on I really came to terms with. It was about 20 years too soon, because what ended up happening when I got down to Edwards, turns out that Yeager, who was the head of the test pilot school,
right,
he had called in all the instructors, and a lot of the students, my fellow students, got down there before I got down there. Okay, because I was in Kansas City doing ticker tape parades. All these people didn't have nothing to do with me. All of a sudden,
everybody knows you.
Everybody, but I was over here. I got pictures of me and the mayor of Kansas City. I wasn't even from Kansas City, Missouri. And all these schools, Glennon and Lillis, and all these schools that turned me down when I wanted
Photo op.
Please come and talk.
Yeah.
Come on and talk to our students. So
Nothing's changed.
Yeah. And so I got down there late, man. And the dude called all of these students in, man. And he just said it. He said, listen, Washington is trying to cram the N-word down our throats. Okay?
And we ain't having it?
And but here's the deal. Kennedy wants to turn the whole space program to make, in his world, the world equal, see, just as equal, by turning the whole space into black astronauts and black space and black scientists. That's what he's after. And this is the start. It's always that first one. And look what happened when Jackie did
baseball.
Look what happened to baseball. All the rest of them came in there. And you got all these stars now. And basketball, don't even talk about basketball. You can't even find a white ball on the court.
But that's what I see with Trump right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Same mentality, same.
But anyway, he was instructed. He's giving these guys marching orders. He says, first of all, we got to get rid of him. And don't talk to him. Don't socialize with him.
This is brought to you by Kansas City Business Association, working to improve our community.